Welcome to RC Australia, guys. Well, in the last episode, you guys would have seen we took this thing for a maiden flight. And now we've started to strip it and do some custom mods to it, basically. So what we've done so far, as you can see, we've gone and taped it all up and we've sanded it back, taken all those rivets off it because we're going to do some more detailed work on it. Sanded it with starting with about 240 grit and going down to 600. We've also drilled some holes in it for the strobes and the navigation lights, and we've also put one on the tip here. We're going to be doing something drastic now and actually cutting the tail off straight across there. We're going to rotate it the other way, the correct way. There's two methods you can either do. You can change the wiring on the motor to spin the other way and use the original prop, or you can leave the motor as is and you can actually change to a different prop which just has the pitch on a 180 degree, I suppose you could say. So it changes it from a pusher to a puller, and it quietens it right down. Anyway, we're going to be doing that mod and continuing with the build. So first things first, now that we've got it all pretty much sanded, time to chop the tail. And I'm literally, you can see where I've made the mark on it, straight down there. The reason I've done it there and not closer is if you look inside, you'll see there's actually a spine which runs down the side here to attach the vertical stabilizers. So we're going to go ahead of that, chop it there, rotate it, and then I'll show you how to put it back together. So I'm just going to use the 5-inch grinder and just put some tape on here so we get a nice clean cut and straight and go from there. All right, we're just going to put this tape straight across it like that. Just got a nice line to cut it to. Grab the grinder, earmuffs, let's go. Okay, you can actually see now that we've done a cross-section cut, how thick the fiberglass is. So it is actually quite beefy. And let's have a look at the tail. You can take off this tape now. You can see what I was talking about, having that little reinforced section inside, that we didn't want to touch that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to what we call V-prep, which is just put a chamfer on both surfaces. We do this in welding as well when we're welding two pieces of metal together, because if you were to just go and glue that back together like that and then put layers of fiberglass over it, one, you're going to get a raised lump around it, and two, you're not going to get a structurally sound joint because you're not getting penetration down into where the thickness of the fiberglass is. So we're going to V-prep it on both sides, and I'm also going to take away a bit of material here and a bit of here, because what we want to do is when we add the material and sand it, we want it to come back to being dead level again. So we can't just go laying glass on top of this now because it's going to create a high spot or a lump. Okay, so we're going to just do that with the sander, and we'll just start off by V-prepping both sides as well. So grab some sandpaper. I'll probably use the Dremel for that. It'll just be a lot quicker. So you can see there how I've just, you can see the white gel coat, and you can actually see the glass fibres as well. So that's good enough. We're going to now take a bit of material around this, pretty much take all the red off. I'm just going to grab my mask because we're going to create a lot more dust now, and you don't want to be breathing this stuff in. You can see what I've done. I've taken all the gel coat off, and you can now see that there's a step in it down. We're going to now build that back up with fiberglass, or I might even use some carbon fibre on that as well. So we're going to do the same to the fuselage as well, and I'll get that done. Okay, so cleaned up the area. You can see now the fact that we've gone and taken that step down. So now when we go and lay the glass over, it will build it back up again. So awesome. That'll work just fine. Okay, so I've made a couple of marks and I've got these surfaces nice and clean. What we're going to do, I actually decided against adding any sort of inside bracing. I don't think it's going to need it. We've got, this is a 4-ounce surfboard S-glass, so it's quite strong, and we're going to add multiple layers of that. And I think what we'll do, just to make sure this gets put in exactly the right position, I've made some marks to make sure the orientation's correct. And you can see there it actually sits perfectly. I've got our little marks to line it up so that we're not crooked. And we're just going to use a bit of Loctite 406 to bond it in position, and then we can sand, because there is a little bit of discrepancies because we've span it around. Obviously that way it fits the shapes a little bit better. You can see there, because it's all uniformed. So as we spin it, we'll just have to re-clean it again, but we're going to be gluing it over here like that. So just using Loctite 406, and that's just going to bond it temporarily while we do all the repairs. So we'll pop a little bit of that onto here. Let's make sure we are getting this correct. Got my little zapper spray, so we'll just permanently put it there. There we go, that's bonded it. Just get the residual off there, don't want any of that stuff on. So now we're just going to double check it by laying it down. I've got the fin here. Just want to make sure that when we add that onto there, we are nice and straight. Perfect. Okay, good news. So, next thing, we're just going to let that dry off a bit more, and you can actually feel, you know, that it's not lined up perfectly. So we'll just use the Dremel just to come around it, re-clean it up, and then we can start adding our fiberglass. Okay, so we've got this thing ready to go. I've just given this another clean and a bit more of a sand to make sure both surfaces were level all the way around. We've got 3 layers of 4-ounce surfboard cloth. We're going to start off putting a thin one on first, like so, and we're going to wrap that around, and then we'll follow through with a wider one to finish the job. So that will actually blend our notched out area and make it look like so it's never been repaired. So we're going to go with those 3 layers. I'm just using a little paintbrush to apply the resin on there, and then I'm just going to use my fingers to get all the air bubbles out of it. Probably should wear gloves, but I haven't got any, and I kind of want the dexterity of my fingers anyway. So a little bit of catalyst in the resin. This is just surfboard resin with wax and styrene in it, so it would be classified as a filler resin, same stuff you'd buy from a hardware store as a general purpose resin. We use this for laminating surfboards, but we add wax in it so that it will go off and not be sticky. So a little bit of catalyst to the mix, and we're not doing drops or anything. I just know that's more than enough. We're going to be working pretty quick, and we'll just give this up and give it a good mix up. Just wipe that off onto there. We do need to work reasonably fast, so we're just basically wetting out the area all the way around, making sure we've got plenty of resin. And then we can apply our cloth to this area. We're just going to wrap it around nice and tight, like so. Add some resin to it, making sure that we're keeping it tightish. Remember, resin, for people that haven't used it, resin by itself does not really give you any strength properties. It is the cloth that will do that. Okay, so just remember that. Okay, we're going to end up with this as our final layer. Just making sure that we're getting all that silver look out of it. That's important. And I'm keeping it tight too as I bring it around, making sure that we're not getting air pockets, because then that will compromise the strength of it too. I'm going to sit down because standing up sucks. Now obviously this principle of what we're doing here, you could apply this to a repair, and I have noticed on the Facebook pages, you know, a lot of people have been crashing these things, and when that happens, people are sort of, you know, like pretty bummed out, but it's all stuff that can be repaired. If you go to a hardware store and buy yourself a surfboard repair kit, it will have this glass in it. Okay, so as you can see there, we are pretty much done. What's going to happen now with this is once it dries, we're going to sand it, and then of course what that will do is expose the weave of the glass of this stuff. So then once it's all sanded and it looks good, then we're going to apply another coat of just clear resin just to get the surface nice. But you can see, if I bring you down to a better level here, you can see how we're no longer now do we have that sort of scooped area. We've filled it with all the glass fibre, got all the strength back again. So this thing's going to be just as strong as it was before, if not stronger, because we've got those extra layers. So we'll just wait for it to dry, and then we'll feather all this outer edges in, and then give it a final coat of clear resin by itself, and we're good to go. We're ready for the primer stage. All right, we'll bring you guys back in when it's dry. Okay, one of the next mods we're doing to the canopy is we're putting some little, I suppose they're called little windows for looking up above. I figured I'm going to cut these out and put some perspex on both of those, and also it'll just help us to be able to look in to see whether our GPS light's flashing on and off. Maybe, I don't know, we'll see. But anyway, I've seen a lot of bells with these little windows cut out, so let's do it. I've just kind of masked them up, as you can see, and I'm going to drill some holes in the corners, make the radius, and then chop it all out. You can see I've just put the 4 holes like that, and then we can use a little cut-off wheel just to cut the rest of it out, I suppose. Just make sure that we're... Yeah, that looks pretty good actually. Just need a very small sanding disc now. We can remove the tape now and have a look at our work. Okay, there we go. Now we'll get the perspex pieces in later. Once we've painted it, at least that bit's all done. Give it a bit of a sand from the inside. Just give it a little bit more detail. Excellent. All right, let's keep going. Righto guys, so we're on to the tail stabiliser, vertical. What I've decided, we're going to use this little bit of tape as a template. We're going to be placing it down like that and glassing it. We're going to do 8 layers of the 4 ounce. So I've got those already cut out. We're going to do 4 layers first, and I'm not sure how thick to make it. I mean, this is only 1 mil thick, and you can see it's super flexy, but it obviously doesn't weigh anything. So I don't want it to weigh too much, but I want it to be stiff. So what we're going to do is it'll be a bit of an experiment. We'll see how thick 8 layers is going to give us. It's kind of hard to judge it with just the cloth, because obviously as you put resin on it, it's going to grow in size. So what we might do is get 4 layers to start with. So we're basically going to go, and the reason we do it on glass obviously is it's not going to stick. So you can just peel it straight off and it'll give you a good finish too. So we'll go with 4 layers to start with, let that dry, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to place the wire inside it. Now, where the wire is going to be, it's going to exit just here ahead of the 2 mounting holes, and then that will, if we look at the tail, once that's bolted on, that wire will go internally into the boom and down to the power source. So, and then we can just wire up our LED up on top later on. So we're just going to encase, it's going to be that way, like that. So once we've got 4 layers on, we're going to lay the wire in and have the wire coming out at the, just sticking up, and then we can put the other 4 layers on top and see how thick it is. So that's the plan. Bit of an experiment. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but this is just, you know, this is what we're going to do. Yeah, so we'll mix up some resin and get these 4 layers wetted out. All right, let's get the mixing done. Put a little bit of hardener. Give that a mix up. We really want to try to wet this out as best we can, because we don't want this fin to come out heavy. Otherwise we're going backwards. Okay, so chip a little bit on here. And we get our spatula, just wet out our area. Always put down the resin first. Then we can apply our pieces one at a time. Making sure that you're wetting them out. And you're just trying to get rid of the silver white look of the cloth just by going back and forth. You don't want any of that. That's what you're looking for, nice and clear, no silver white look. All right, we can now place another one on, like so. Same deal. I'll probably just put it on with a paintbrush here, make it a bit easier for myself. You can see how the fiberglass turns clear very quickly, but this is surfboard cloth, so it is a bit more refined than your general chop strand stuff that you'd use. You wouldn't use chop strand for this because it's just too heavy and kind of the wrong application really. There we go. So now what we're going to do, even now that we've got everything wetted out, we're going to just get rid of the excess resin, because resin is heavy, weighs, and we don't want this to be heavy. So what I'm doing now is I'll just get the squeegee, and we're just going to really try to get all that excess out. Okay. You don't want to overdo it, because then you'll end up with issues later. And just really squeegee out that excess resin, and then we just let it dry. Once it's dry, then we're going to add our cable and then put another 4, and we're going to be ready to obviously take it off the glass, cut the shape out to this, and then we should be good to go. All right, I'll bring you guys back in when we're all done. Righto guys, so it's the next day and we have sanded that, and you can see now we've got the profile looking perfect, and I've just gone and put a brushed coat of just resin on it to make it all nice and smooth. We'll sand that back with some 240, and then this thing is ready for primer. So the other thing we've done, I demolded this section here that had the 4 layers way too thin. I measured it under, I think it was 0.5 millimetre, so I've bumped that up to 8 layers, and I've done another lot of 8 layers. So I'm thinking the two lots should sandwich together with the LED wire inside it, and we should be getting something close to this, and obviously a lot stronger than that too. So we'll have to leave these overnight, and we can come back in the morning and see what happens. Okay guys, it's the next day and everything's dried. You can see I've put the two pieces together and chopped it out using the original one as a template. I just slightly modified the top end and made it a bit squarer for where the strobe's going to go, but it's a lot stronger. This is just obviously the two pieces now. We got the thickness pretty much bang on to the original one, and more importantly the weight is exactly the same. I mean, I probably could put on the scales, but I can already tell it's pretty much exactly the same. So what we're going to do now is we can separate those two layers and run our cable inside it for the LED. So that'll be the next thing. The chopper and the canopy are ready for primer, so we'll mix up some 2K surface primer, hang these parts up and give them a paint. What I'm going to do is just use a bit of foil just to cover up all this inside here, because I don't want to get, you know, overspray inside it. So not that it really matters, but yeah, I'll just leave it with the timber look and protect the Velcro, I suppose. Okay, let's get it done. Good day for it, nice and windy. Yeah, you can see a few little imperfections just up in the tail there, but this is what the primer is for. You can see it's just sort of a little bit on the funny side there. The rivets are all gone, which is good. I don't see, there's a couple of little holes there, a few little bumps and lumps. That's stuff we can take care of later, but all in all, got a good coverage on it. I mean, like I said, it's only primer, so I'll give this about an hour and it'll be dry, and then we can start the next process.
A few moments later.
Okay, so the primer has dried and we can have a bit of a good look at it now. You can, and this is why it's great to use primer, because it shows up, you know, you can see a little bit of sanding scratches that are still up there that we didn't quite get out. So that's something you can rectify. There's a couple of little pinholes. I mean, look, you can go crazy if you really want to get it perfect. It is pretty good though. There's a couple of other little details I want to add. Now, this section just here is supposed to, right there, is supposed to have a little ducting where you can have where the air goes into the engine. So it's like a little bit of a cowling over the top of this, and I'm just going to add a little piece there. I'll put a picture up now so you can see what it's supposed to look like. So yeah, what we're going to do is just add that to both sides. We can just use a little bit of off-cut fiberglass to do that and just glue it in. So do that, and then the next thing we're going to do is start adding all the rivets to the panel work. I'm opting not to do rivets that are sticking out. I'm going to do ones that are actually in, only because I want to get the scale, and it's just going to take forever to do little drops of araldite or however you want to do a rivet. I'm just going to use the Dremel and draw some lines and then just go dab, dab, dab with the Dremel with a tiny little carbide tip and just replicate the dot rivet look on, because there's going to be a lot of it on here. So anyway, that'll be in the next episode. Thanks again, guys, for stopping by and checking this build out, and there'll be more content coming very soon. Cheers, guys. You.